Fear and competition can be your best friend.
Season 3 of the Little Bricks podcast is back. We've got some amazing guests. Can't wait for you to see them. We're going to be speaking mental health, addiction, recovery, sales, business, sports, all sorts of topics. Distraction kills dreams. With the people you spend time with, you will become. Tough times don't ever last, but tough people do. I cannot wait to share it with you. Hello, so we've got Alfie Best on the show. Hi, Alfie.
Hi, how are you, Lee? You okay?
I'm absolutely brilliant, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, all good, all good. Every day's good. We just have bad situations that we have to deal with, and bad situations into good ones.
God bless. God bless. Words of wisdom already, mate. Thank you. I'm very grateful that you've took time out to jump on the podcast. Thank you.
Pleasure's mine.
Yep. So for those who don't know, please can we have a little bit about your journey, where it all started, please, mate?
A lot of people seem to think that my journey is a little bit magical in some way, but it really isn't. Or it's just I'm a traveller. I was born very, very, very poor. Travellers are the poorest community of people. And people, they're what I regard as sometimes the forgotten race. And now I control two of the largest companies in the UK. One is Wildcrest Residential Parks, which is Europe's largest residential mobile home park company, with a value in excess of, say, 1.2 billion or somewhere in that region. I also own Vroom Motorhome Hire, which is the third largest motorhome hire company in the UK. And we own about 17 other small SME businesses. I have started doing over the last 10 years a little bit of publicity. As in, we've done a few television programs, one being The Big Fat Gypsy Fortune, another How the Other Half Live, another was Undercover Boss. And that took a lot for me to do, because I hid my identity being a gypsy. And the reason I hid it is because as a gypsy, it comes with a stigma. You know, liars, cheats and thieves is the stereotype that you're cast with. It wasn't something that I did and thought this is going to benefit me. I was unsure what was going to come of it, but I like to live my life on very short memes. So, a man that doesn't know where he's from can never know where he's going. And a man that has no identity can never be true to himself. But all of those little memes, they actually ring true. And sometimes you're better off with short paragraphs or short sentences that actually say more than the whole book.
Really do. They're really powerful. We've got some, we're up in Middlesbrough, we've got some fantastic travelling families, good friends of mine, good, decent people, so amen to you. So, forgetting stereotyped, is that a form of racism, Alfie?
Well, I don't believe in racism. I don't believe racism exists at all. What it is, look, I've had this conversation with a number of different people. For me, I don't accept racism. And by accepting racism, what you're doing is accepting that you're different. Racism is a word that was made up by somebody to tell that person they're saying something about you, so they're being racist. That doesn't sound right to me. Mm. What I say is it's just another form of abuse. No different than calling somebody fat, thin or ugly. But instead of calling it abuse, which is what it really is, somebody came up with a word, and that word is it's racism. And look, let's be honest, racism first came about because of black and white. Mm. For me, I see most gypsies as a black man in white skin. So, whereas as a black man, they had to stand up for their identity because they couldn't escape it. Whereas a lot of gypsies have been able to hide that fact. there are so many gypsies out there that have led the way, but still hid their identity. Charlie Chaplin, Mother Teresa. And do you know something? I've quoted many different, should we say, celebrities or people that are in the public eye as being gypsies. And it's a well-known fact and it's documented. And you would be shocked at how many people, well, they weren't gypsies. Okay. What proof do you have that, and I stand there in amazement sometimes that they actually can't see what they're doing. It's the other day, Jimmy Carr did a joke on gypsies. Look, to be fair with you, I'm a thick-skinned person, but there are certain things that you just don't make jokes about. And it wasn't the fact that it was directed at gypsies. It was the fact that it was actually, he was saying it was okay for Hitler to kill the gypsies in the Holocaust. I was blown away by it. Like, hold on. So it's okay, you can't say it about anybody else. It's the last accepted abuse. Look, and like I said, I'm thick-skinned. I don't take, but I think, okay, you can't have one rule for one race of people and another rule for another. That's all I'm saying.
100%. I think it's quite, there's a lot of evidence to back that up. If you think Tyson Fury, the first world title he won, he got no press, absolutely ripped apart because of his religious beliefs, and it's so wrong. So very profound, and I've just learned quite a lot there, so thank you. So we're going to speak about, I listened to an interview, I think it was with an Irish guy, about property, but you spoke about your father, and that fascinated me. Because being a father is being a leader. It's our duty. It's very important. And your dad was a cold caller, you said?
Yeah, my dad was, he was the original tarmac, knocking on doors. We used to call it hawking, but you'd actually call it cold calling. And you'd go door to door selling, canvassing for work. And my dad was, he'd either go canvassing for roofing, for trees, or for tarmac. Our staple diet as business is what we were good at was tarmacking. So that's what we did. I did it as well. It's what I sort of learned, was brought up on, and there's still a lot of young travelling kids today that go out with their dads. And I actually think the education system that we have in the UK would benefit from, shall I call it, the gypsy college of life, which is learning how to deal with people, learning how to talk to people. We seem to be losing that skill set in society by emails, text messages. Whoever think about this? When mobile phones first come out, and that was one of my jobs that I first did when they very first came out, whoever thought that we would go backwards, which is what we've done, because instead of talking to somebody on the phone now, we prefer to send them a text. I never thought I'd ever see that, but it's what society is. And I think that stemmed from emails.
Yeah, I get you. I think, I'm a salesman. And 12 years ago, I got forced to be a salesman because there was no other option for me. I'd messed my life up really bad through mental health, addiction, and I was in a bit of a mess. So at that point, in our society in the UK, the only option is to be a self-employed, commission-only salesperson. But thank the Lord, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I got through into a cold call environment, and that made a man of me. It made a man of me. Did you learn a lot of lessons? To have this £1 billion empire, and you've done amazingly well. You're self-made, which is absolutely amazing. Did you learn a lot of lessons going out with your dad and watching him cold call? Did you learn a lot of life lessons, Alfie?
Yeah, of course. My dad's my hero, no question about it. But I will say this to you, there's a lot of people that I've learned a lot of things off of. No question about that. They've also been... look, if you meet a road sweeper, make sure that he's a passionate road sweeper. Do you know why? Because he'll tell you everything about it, and he'll tell you with passion. So whatever person you're talking to, don't talk to somebody that's got no interest in what they're doing. Talk to the man that loves what he's doing. Doesn't matter what it is. My dad loved what he's doing. He's 76 years old today. He works 7 days a week today. And when I say that to people, they think, well, he can't work 7 days a week. He works 7 days a week, works manually, got hands like bunches of bananas. and you know, that staple diet has become habit. And habit is such a dramatic, prosperous thing to achieve as long as you're addressing and pushing those habits through for a good cause. And what I mean a good cause, I mean yourself. So it benefits you. You know, everything in life that is good or bad is only come by way of excess. That's all it is. Because everything in life is okay in moderation. Cocaine, for instance, was originally first used in Coca-Cola. It was actually first used to numb your teeth by the dentist. But it's when it gets used and it then gets abused. But that's the same as anything. You eat too many sweets, it'll make you fat and rot your teeth. But yet we all know a sweet tastes nice.
It does. It does. Did you watch? So, can I ask you a question, please?
Ask anything.
Thank you. The big deals you do now, and imagine a business of your size, you'll go into meetings and negotiations on huge, opportunities, business, commercial deals. Some of the things that you learned from your old man and yourself and the early doors of sales, do you still carry them skills into the meetings and negotiations you carry on now?
Of course you do. Look, people don't change, deals don't change. The only thing that changes is the figure. That's all. Don't let anybody tell you any different. Don't get me wrong, the accountants and the solicitors will make it a lot more complicated, but that's their job. It's their job to cross the I's and dot the T's. Don't try to be an accountant. Don't try to be a solicitor. That's what you pay them to do their job for. Your job is to negotiate a fair and reasonable deal. Not a good deal, not a bad deal, always a reasonable deal. And the reason it needs to be reasonable, if you push the other side too hard, they'll end up walking away. So you want a fair deal that works for everybody in hand. That way your deal gets done. You don't waste any money. The table and the door is always left open for you to go and sit at the table again and do another deal. Because people want to deal with people that they know forgive the pun, but have got the minerals to carry it through.
Yeah, I get you. Thanks for that. So yourself, was it a van centre you started off with first? Was that your first port of call in your adult life, your entrepreneur life?
Yeah, first business I ever started was 16. And I started buying and selling vans from auctions and running them from one end of the country to the other. The first real business, whereas I had a base, had an office, was a hire van centre and sales centre. And, I did really well. I had a £550,000 house with a mortgage of $250,000. I had a block of 4 flats with a small mortgage. I had a van, the van pitch I bought, and that had a mortgage. I had £150,000 worth of stock, which back in 1989 was a lot of money, 1990. I was driving a brand new Porsche. At 19 years old, 20 years old, I thought that I could walk on water. I thought I was, people would use words like, oh, he's a whiz kid. Here's the thing. Started to believe them as well. What a mistake that was. Because let me tell you, don't believe your own hype. Because we're all good at telling ourselves how good we are at something. But when it goes pear-shaped, it's at that time, and the way I would describe it is the most harrowing, difficult time in your life. And I wouldn't think there isn't anybody that hasn't contemplated suicide when they're in their darkest time. Some contemplate it a lot more darkly than others. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying to you is it crosses your mind because you're in such a dark place. It's going to. Certainly did for me.
Yeah, been there as well, for different reasons: mental illness, addiction, losing things, but still making mistakes. Right? Do you think them moments? Do you think they help you grow if you come through them, Alfie?
No, I don't. Not in that way that you've put it. I don't think they make you grow. Not at all. I think they stump your growth because they knock your confidence. They push you back. They make you feel like an idiot. You start questioning, where did I go wrong? All of those things. So no, I don't. Not at that time. You have to come through it to be able to learn from it. Then you can reflect on it. But at that time, and I'm not trying to not answer the question, I'm just saying to you at that time, no, it's killing you. But when you get through it, which you will, when you then get through it and you can then reflect on it, it makes you a more rounded person. And if I can put that in layman's terms for myself, life doesn't mold you like people say. It doesn't mold you into a person. Life carves you and cuts pieces, chunks out of you. And the deepest cuts are the scars that you remember. And you can allow it to turn you into this misshapen piece of carved wood that's horrible. Or you can allow it to cut the chunks out and turn you into a masterpiece. And that's your choice. That's your choice. Because those things are sent to test us. Do they hurt? Oh my God. The pain. I had a murmur at 20 years old, and I was a boxer at the time. I had 62 amateur fights. And I had a murmur and collapsed across the desk. So much pain it can put you through. On a different note, the coming through it is, I would say, one of the most humbling experiences. And it, any person that can come through it should remember it. And they should remember it with dignity that they managed to come through it. And there's a lot of people that have. Yeah.
And you went from sleeping in the Porsche to a van, I heard you on one of your interviews. Is that right?
I did. I had a brand new Porsche, so I had to be able to pay the mortgage, and I wanted to save my house. So I sold the Porsche, paid off some of my debts, sold off all the vans on the van site and paid off the overdraft, moved out the house, rented the house, and I bought a mattress and put it in the back of the escort van and slept in the back of the escort van.
Humbling, huh?
Well, profound, and it's even more profound. Do you know, I'm telling you this, and every time I say this, I get the hairs stand up on the back of my neck. I can actually sort of visualize it, and it brings you down. Certainly humbling to a degree that I don't think anybody needs to experience.
Yeah. Do you think there's a pattern though, Alfie, where whether it be sport, business, music, art, people who reach a certain height, a certain level, seem to have been through some real form of struggle? Is that just part of the journey? Or
Look, I can't speak for anybody else. What I can speak for is myself and other people that I've seen that have had battles in their life. And look, God gives his hardest battles to his strongest warriors. Whether that's true or whether it's not, we must believe that. And the reason we must believe it is whether you're a person with faith or whether you're not, we all need something. We need something to believe in. And in our darkest hour, why would you want to believe there's nothing? Like, I'm not a religious person, I come from a very God-fearing family. But I'd never say that I'm an atheist. I would only ever say that I'm an agnostic. And an agnostic is somebody that believes there is something there.
To your boxing, because I never knew you boxed. Do you mind if I ask a question on that?
There is no questions that you can't ask. Just
Thank
fire
you.
away.
I appreciate it. Which gym did you fight out of, and who was the best person you fought?
Cheshunt Amateur Boxing Club was where I boxed from. The best boxer that I ever boxed was another travelling boy called Tony Collins. He beat me. And as an amateur, he was unbeaten. And he turned pro. And Frank Warren said when he turned pro, and this is in, Frank Warren made this statement, he said he was the greatest boxer that ever walked through his door. But he said it just didn't happen for him. But what I think it was, I think all them Collins brothers were good boys, but I think they trained way too hard and fought way too hard as amateurs. And I think when they got to pros, they were potentially possibly burnt out.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. We're going to talk about your transition to property, because obviously that's what a lot of people will know you for. Can you just talk us through that journey, please, mate?
Yeah, sure. Look, property I have a love for. I absolutely I could eat it with a spoon. I love property. And when I sold off my business in Vodotech, I then had a chunk of money and I invested it in commercial property. I built that company up, built it to a very good level. And I've still got that company to this day. And then I looked at something that was different, and I found my real passion in life. Now, that never came, by the way, till I was 30. Now, at the age of 30, I was worth £5 million. And that was all the money in the world. And I thought that I'd absolutely conquered it in life. And let me say this. I actually believe that I had. And I believe anybody that gets to that wealth of level today has conquered it. You've made it. No question about it. You've made it. And I can honestly say that money was blood money. I could sit down and tell you where every penny, blood, blister and tear came from. But what I'd done with that money is I'd earned it. I'd actually physically worked for it and earned it. Today, my asset base value, because that's how the Sunday Times value me, is worth £700 million. Now, I believe my business is worth much more than that. I believe it's worth 1.2 billion because there is a goodwill, and obviously the business itself has a value, but the asset value of the company is 800 million, less we owe the bank 100 million. So just on my asset base, we're worth 700 million. And that took 20 years to go from 5 million to 700. And that was with a company called Wildcrest Parks. And we're now Europe's largest residential mobile home park operator. And I believe that I have the solution to affordable housing. And I'll talk you over that in a moment. But the big thing for me was I found my passion. So I actually didn't earn that money. The business earned the money, and it took on a life of its own. People seem to think of wealth of that you've got the money sitting in the bank, and that's not how it is. You can buy an asset. Your asset is generating revenue, but while it's generating revenue, the more revenue that you get it to generate, the bigger value that it will go up. And also the beauty of wealth in assets that are generating, your assets going up in value as well. Hence, that's why if you have bank borrowing, even though you're repaying the money, your asset is continuing to go up, but the bank's borrowing will go down. It's like somebody said to me the other day, their credit card is a gift because as long as you pay it off after 30 days, you've got free money. But people fall into the trap of not paying it off. You must understand these tools are there for banks to make money, but they entice you in with a free credit card. So you should use it as being free. The same as a mortgage. I don't particularly agree with interest-only mortgages. I always like to see capital and repayment mortgages. And the reason I like to see this is because the bank can see that you're always bringing your mortgage down. And by bringing your mortgage down, it puts you in a much safer position. If we have a property crash, you've already got your mortgage down.
Yeah, makes total sense, yeah.
But I do understand sometimes you have to start off in different ways where you need an interest-only mortgage. But it's always best never to get comfortable and switch it to a repayment mortgage.
There's such a marketplace now and a mixed narrative out there being created by the property gurus, people coming in, selling training courses. Grant Cardone, for example, is always saying, like, your own personal residential mortgage, don't ever get that, that's a bad investment. What's your thoughts on all these gurus that are out there and sort of the mixed narrative? Because it can be really confusing to somebody who's not educated in that area.
I think there's some very, very, very good property training programs that are out there. I really do. But there isn't one box that fits all. Come on. Are they telling me they can train the world with one box that fits it all? Well, hold on. If that was the case, everybody in school would go to school and be an academic genius. But we don't, do we? And the reason we don't is because schools do the same thing. They teach everybody the same thing. English, maths, science, French. Well, I say this to you. Have you never seen that some people in school become very good at art or very good at maths? Now, I didn't go to school for a great deal of time, but I've always thought to myself, why would you not try and get that person to excel in their maths study and push them as hard as you could because you knew they were going to be a genius at it? Or if somebody shows that flair as an artist, why would you not push that? Because they've got that flair. It's the same as a footballer. People look at somebody playing football as they're having a game. They're not. They're in business. They happen to have a passion for. Their business is football. And their passion is football. Don't confuse it. Because if they didn't get paid for it, what do you think the likelihoods they'd be doing it? They might be doing a Sunday day football, but it is their business. So when I see, different people that say we've got a property training course for all, I understand they have to teach it that way, but I believe that no, it is not one glove fits every hand. That's why we have tailor-made suits. That's why we have different size suits, because they fit different people.
Yeah, I get you. I'm a salesman, so there's also similar training courses to be a sales expert. And I think there's some fantastic sales trainers out there. The question always begs for me, if you're so good at teaching this, surely you would be at the top of some tree, It's a business that you're trying to roll out. And by the way, Fair play to anybody trying to feed the family. But you keep on saying the word passion, Alfie. How important is that for somebody? Because there's a lot of people, a lot of my family and friends, who are looking for something. What they're doing is not going to get them the dreams, okay? And we chase money a lot of the time. And I've seen you say that you should chase goals. How important is doing what you're passionate about, please?
I don't want to not answer that because you've already answered it. Passion is everything. Sometimes we have to do what we don't like to get to the point that allows us to follow our passion that is going to reap rewards. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
A lot of people talk about you've got to be passionate about what you do. Find what you love and you'll never work another day in your life. All of that is true. All of that is true. But sometimes we have to do what we don't like to give us the leg up, to put us in a place to be able to follow our passion. For instance, take me. At 12 years old, I didn't really want to be knocking on doors, selling tarmac or climbing trees, cutting up on the top of puzzle trees and monkey trees and cutting my hands. I possibly wanted to do mobile home parks, but I didn't know. And I wasn't at a point in my life that I could have done that. So I had to do what I didn't like, and then I found my passion. So don't be not prepared. Sorry, but I'm passionate about when I'm telling somebody something, because it's important that people understand that it isn't just a gift that you're going to fall across and find your passion and the world's going to be rosy. Life's tough. Be prepared to do the tough things to then find what you love, because unfortunately, it isn't just going to land in your lap.
Yeah, really, really profound. I think the sales courses, for example, or the property courses, it's maybe social media. We live in a society now where people want it instant. They want to come off a course and I'm an expert in sales. I want to earn the big money, but I'm old school. I believe in paying your dues. Like when I did a football apprenticeship many, many years ago, but I used to clean boots and sweep the dressing room, but that was good grounding. That was learning values. There's something that maybe is missing on society with that at the moment, it's important.
We live in a world of lies, and that's what social media has created. And we're all as guilty of it, me included, because I don't post anything where I just fell over or fell in the puddle and got to go and have or something bad. No, I don't post that. So we're all as guilty of it. Yeah. But what I would say is this. We had a problem in Great Britain. We had a big problem. And social media is helping extinguish that problem. And we've become a downtrodden society. We'd become half empty. And the reason I believe this has got to do a little bit with the weather and a little bit to do with the staple diet of what we were taking in from TV. So if I can explain, what we had here in the UK is Emmerdale Farm, Coronation Street, and EastEnders. And everybody on there was slicing their wrists, committing suicide or going bankrupt. They weren't winning the lottery. They weren't building a business and becoming millionaires. They weren't buying a brand new car and doing really well. And we had the downtrodden because our whole society is based on drama. America had Cheers. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Upbeat dramas. We didn't. Now, when I talk about the weather, now I love my mum to death. I love her more than anything. But she says, oh, you can't go out today. Look at the rain. Oh, it's pouring down. Then it's too cold. Oh, it's freezing. So you actually don't know what to wear. Do you wear a rain mac or do you wear a woolly coat? Or all of a sudden the sun comes out. Oh my God, look at this heat. I'm sweating to death. It's killing me. You can't stand this. You can't work in this heat. It's just, so what I've done is learned to dance in the rain and sing in the sun. Because if you don't, all you're going to do is put yourself in a bad mood because you're not happy with how you got out of bed because it's either too hot or it's too cold.
Yeah, I get you completely. I think we get fed a dose of propaganda, right? And how we consume and what we consume, whether it's food or information through the television. And I agree. I think social media, there is a change.
Can I tell you something which I said the other day? And this is not at any means directed at you or anybody else that has asked me about the question about I've done so well and I'm now how is it possible to have come from a travelling background to being in control of £1 billion company? You know, it just doesn't seem possible. So I have a question, and I'm going to give you the answer to the question. Why? Why is it not possible? Why is it not acceptable? Why is it that everybody sees that as not the norm? Unless you go to a academic private school, where you were in class with Boris Johnson and David Cameron. We've all seen the photograph. Why is it then acceptable for them to reach heights of success, but it's not acceptable and not seen as right? Couldn't be possible. You were either a drug dealer or a bank robber. There's no way you could have done it. Why? Is it because they're trying to keep us down? Is it because they've put a glass ceiling there and they're telling us that we're dumb? Because I don't stand that. The same as I don't accept racism. I believe we have to kick that door in. We kick that door in and make our own path. We don't accept what we're being told anymore. You can't do it. You shouldn't do it. Why would you think you could even achieve it? No, we can. We're no different than anybody else. All of us.
Love it. You talk about America, an entrepreneur made president, right? Would that ever happen here?
No.
Why not? Why could Branson not be Prime Minister? Why could Richard Branson not be Prime Minister?
Because it's not acceptable that a businessman, because he's not trained as a politician, he's not hold on. I'm not trained as a mobile home park operator. I'm not trained as a mobile home. I'm not trained as a mobile phone. I'm not trained as a tarmacker. But I rolled my sleeves up and learned on the job. Mm-hmm. It seems today that if you're not blessed with some type of academic, you're not accepted. And, you know, I'm sorry, I think we have to, as people that are from the poor end of the Richter scale, and I'm not talking about travellers, I'm talking about everybody.
Yeah.
We have to make it our own and not accept to keep being put down.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be honest with you, it's changed my thinking. When I got asked that question, I thought about it. I thought, no, we should be saying, well, actually, it is possible. It can be done, but it's just up to you. Might be a little bit more tougher, but we'll get there.
Yeah. Do you think a lot of that comes down to, so I believe in visualisation. I don't know if it's something you practice yourself. Mentoring's important, because on the estate for me growing up, the only mentors were the hard lads, the drug dealers, the robbers, who really, when you get a bit older and you go a different route, you think they were just dickheads. Like, it's just stupid, but I didn't ever question it. That's all I knew.
I think you're being a bit hard on yourself, and I think you're being a bit hard on them as well, for this reason. When you're at the bottom of the barrel, you have to fight your way out. They're just different. They're just different steps of the ladder. When you get above that point where you don't fight your way out of the gutter, it's then a point about being able to converse at a different level. So we as people from a poor background have to learn to be better adapters at each phase of our life. But remember, while you're doing that, you're becoming a different person. It's not that you've forgotten who you are. It's you're adapting to a different life. Yeah,
I get you. New levels, new devils. As you start to have a bit of success in your business, Alfie, and I've had this. I was conditioned as a kid that the rich were evil. They all have everything on credit cards and big mortgages. They take from us as well. And statements like, money doesn't grow on trees. Do you think I'm made of money? And all these things are really conditioned in you and actually create a poor mindset, right? And then as you get sorry, Matt.
No, I think you're right. I think it's very easy to have something drilled into you that you think's the norm. Look, let me just put it, I don't agree with what the British government and other governments are doing to the Russian civilians. Now, I'm not talking about Putin, because I'm completely against what he's doing in the war. But our country welcomed these civilians here, allowed them to invest, let them bring their money in, and then they're stripping them. Who's next? The gypsies? Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, don't get me wrong. If they've got a direct connection to Putin, or they want to freeze or hold that money to stop any of that money going back to Russia, I completely endorse. But I thought in war, you actually protected the civilians. Maybe I'm wrong. But to me, it sends alarm bells going.
Yeah. As you, do you think we should teach this to the younger generation? Stuff like mindset, positive thinking, visualization, how to sell, entrepreneurship, being a leader. Are these things that we should be sort of teaching? I don't know if it's younger generations, but just teaching each other anyway, because I think with success, I don't know if you've ever had this from family, friends, anybody on social media, there's an element of jealousy and negativity and envy, isn't there?
What I would say to you is you're always going to have those people.
Right.
The most important thing that you can do, is actually learn that you need those haters. You need those jealous people, because they're actually telling you that you're doing well. They're actually telling you it without you knowing it. So it's very important. Look, I've got a lot of haters. I really have. But I've got some fantastic people that give me a pat on the back. And you need both of them. You really do. In life, again, it's about balance. You get your battery drainers and your battery chargers. Well, if you've got somebody keep charging your battery, you're going to think you can walk on water. So you need a few battery drainers. You just need them in the right context.
Makes sense. Totally makes sense. Being a leader, how many people do you lead, Alfie? And any tips for leaders? Anything that you run your business and your life and your family from, please?
Okay, I've I can't say that I've been a particularly good father as a family man. I can't say I've been a particularly good father. I've been a good provider, but that doesn't make me a good father. I'd actually say I've been a very hard father, but that's what I thought was right at the time. I thought it was right to be like that. Would I do it slightly different today? I think I would, because I didn't need to be as hard as I was. But then again, I think I've got well-grounded, and I think that they're on their path of their own success. Me and my son we made history this year. We were the only father and son ever to appear separately in the Sunday Times Richest. He was in the under 30s. I was in the main group, to appear in there as both self-made, whatever you call it in the rich list. And that I thought was a great, that made me feel very proud.
Congratulations.
And I have no issue in talking about money. I have no issue talking about it, because I think we seem to find it vulgar or distasteful. I've got bank borrowing. But I don't live an exotic lifestyle, albeit maybe it does seem that way to other people, but I don't feel that I live an exotic lifestyle. I live a good life now, but everything that I do has a business end to it. Everything. And I think the country should endorse certain things. I believe that we should all bless our own united flag, the flag of Great Britain. Every morning, I think we should bless that. We live in a great country. We shouldn't be ashamed of our flag, and we should also encourage people to not be embarrassed to talk about they want to do well in life. How about these sayings that, Jesus, I get upset over it. Don't get above your station. What are you? What? Is that not taking the wind out of people's sails? Jesus, shouldn't they be saying, come on, we want to help you get there? I'm sorry, but I want to see people do well. I want to see our country do well. We have such a great country. And do you know what we also have here? Some great people, fantastic people that have been held back.
Superb.
But Lee, can I tell you something?
Please, Alfie, yeah, please.
People like yourself don't realise how much good you're doing. You see these podcasts that you're putting out there, you're showing people, actually, it is the norm to try hard and not to accept it. You don't see the BBC News or ITV News giving out that message. So you don't realise how much good you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'd love to meet your son as well. Sounds like a brilliant person.
Thank you.
Superb. I love it. Where can people, Teesside people, anybody who watches this, where can they find you on social media to follow you, please, Alfie? Alfie
Best Senior. I'm on Instagram, Twitter or Facebook. They are managed accounts, but I do go on them and I do post a lot of my own stuff on there as well. And I do try to always answer back to messages. If I don't, somebody always will.
Superb. You've got to come to the North East, visit Middlesbrough one time. We'll take you for our traditional dish of Palmo.
I shall look forward to it. We've got parks up there. Whereabouts are you in the North East?
Middlesbrough, the capital.
I've got parks there.
Really?
I have, yeah. I've got one called Seaview, which is just south of Chester Lee Street.
Yeah.
I've got another one called Bockenfield, another one called Felmore, but they're just on the Norfolk border, not Norfolk, Northumberland borders. And we've got another one smack bang in Newcastle.
Superb. You've got to come to Middlesbrough, be our guest.
Love to.
It'd be an honour to meet you. So thanks for coming on to the Little Bricks podcast. I'm very, very grateful. Any last message, Alfie, you want to put out?
Whatever you want to do in life, make sure that you do it, no matter what it is. Because when we get to the end of our tether, we're only going to be arguing about something we didn't want to do, where we'd have been better off arguing about something we did want to do.
There you go.
Listen, mate, honestly, I've really enjoyed today. You're a good man, and you've inspired me, and I've learnt a lot. Thank you.
The pleasure's been mine, and thank you, Lee. And I wish everybody every success on everything they're doing. See you later.
Thanks, Alfie. Take care, mate. All the best to the family. Have a great time.